What's up, CFO gang? It's your boy Jay Tuck. Real Cowboys fans, stand up. And yo, the NFL draft is over. So it's time to break down some of the prospects that the Dallas Cowboys have drafted and also brought in as undrafted free agents. Now, I want to give everybody a warning. Just because the Dallas Cowboys drafted these players, we will not change our process. And what do I mean by that? We're not going to show all the glitz and glamour highlights and not talk about some of the things that they need to work on, right? We're still going to talk about the positives, but we're also going to speak about the negatives. So if you want the Kool-Aid, this might not be the videos for you. We are going to talk about everything and really come down to our thought process and scouting process when it comes to these players. We're not going to change our approach just because they now have a star on their helmet. When it comes to Phil Mafah, though, he's a solid guy. You guys know I'm an ACC guy, so he's 6'1", 234, played for Clemson. Was in the Shrine Bowl, and the thing that really stands out, he is a powerful runner, right? He's a big bruiser, but he doesn't really play like the bruiser, and the film will definitely tell us that here in a second. But, you know, overall, good career at Clemson, and if you want to compare him to some of the premium backs, right, whether it's Genty, Hampton, or Quinshon and Judkins, now don't clip this and be like, oh, Jay Tuck says that he's just as good as Judkins, and no. But what I'm trying to say is when you look at things from a statistical standpoint, he's kind of within the ballpark range of some of these players that we really wanted. And for the Cowboys to be able to get him at the seventh round pick, I think it was an extreme value to be able to bring in Phil Mafah. Because you think about it from this standpoint, if you look at yards per attempt, he's at 5.5. Genty is a unicorn, so we'll toss him out. But Hampton was at 5.8. Judkins was at 5.5. Now, he did have a shoulder injury last year, but, you know, I think that's some of the concerns about his durability. But overall, good quality player, great leader. Dabo Swinney spoke very highly about him, and he also has some talent. So let's go ahead and get into the film. So the very first play right here, you'll see the thing that really stands out is once again, you'll see the size, right? He's just built like a running back. So he's built like a running back. It's kind of hard to see with the goalpost splitting him right there. Pause if you want to, right? But he's just built like a running back. He has good stature. Look at the calves. Look at the build, right? So he has a very good frame. But even though he's a bigger running back, he runs extremely patient, and that's demonstrated on this play right here. You'll see him right there with the little read, right? Plant and be able to cut outside, right? Now, I think this is, you know, what a lot of people say about when it comes to Phil, right? He's not going to be a guy that's going to hit his head on the goalpost. He's not going to run a lot of players at the NFL level. I don't think he really didn't do it at the college level. But even with that, he's a good, solid back, to be honest with you. And he's not just a bruiser. He has a lot of different things that he can really bring to it, right? He just doesn't have the athleticism. Isn't going to jump off the screen, but he's a good patient runner. Once he gets rolling downhill, he can move a little bit. Not the most agile. You won't see that here in a few plays, but he finishes his runs. You see that little stiff arm right there. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so he plays with some toughness. So don't think he's soft, right? Because he's a leader, but he don't play soft, right? He plays with some physical toughness. Just isn't a track star, but overall, I definitely like this prospect. I think last year he had 1,100 yards, even with the shoulder injury, 8 touchdowns. So he was solid. And there was a few games in the middle of Clemson's season where, you know, he had 100-yard games. Louisville was one. I forgot the other two, but out of the last 4 games in the middle of the season, he rushed for over 100 yards, and they really utilized him a lot in the Clemson offense because they really didn't have much, which is surprising because Dabo can't keep up with the new NIL. But when it comes to Phil, like I said, once again, good patience, good vision, cut to be able to read his blockers, read his hats, make defenders miss. Now here in the open field, you know, this is not going to excite you much, right? It's not a lot of highlight plays, but like I said, behind this new Dallas Cowboys offensive line with the Tyler Booker and the Tyler Smith and Tyler Guyton and Cooper Beebe, and if you're getting that push, you can definitely get a guy that can get moving downhill. Like I said, in the open field, nothing too attractive, but he can definitely be an avalanche for this Dallas Cowboys offense. And then I think the most important thing is, okay, how is it going to help us in the red zone? And, you know, if you go, I think like last year he had 8 touchdowns. You go back to the 2023 Gator Bowl, he had 4 touchdowns in one game, right? So he definitely has a nose to get in the end zone. You'll see that here in this play right here. You know, just simply being able to read his blocks and bounce outside. Boom. Get outside and get into the end zone. So overall, like I said, he's a good player. And if you're a Cowboys fan watching this, which I assume you are, think of this as like a older Zeke, not the Zeke from last year, but like the Zeke before he went to the Patriots. So kind of that Zeke, right? With those types of traits. So he's going to be a guy that short yardage back, not super explosive, but can keep the chains moving. Has a little bit more explosive than I'll say Zeke did at the end of his career, but nothing too sexy, nothing too attractive. This is a very old school lunch pail type running back, which I don't mind adding into our rotation when it comes to Dallas Cowboys. And then you'll see on this play right here, just the ability to read his blockers. Like I said, very patient runner. Now, some people might say he runs a little high, right? He does kind of run a little high, but a lot of these running backs, they run high. So I'm not sure what's going on in college football, but you have a lot of high runners in this class, right? But anyways, just being able to read his blockers. Now, he probably could have beeline straight to number 26, but he's seeing his block get set up, being able to bounce outside, right? So you see the vision. It's just not the gear here. You like to see, okay, now he's off to the races and be able to outrun this guy and outrun this guy. That's just not there. They're able to pursue. He kind of gears down a little bit. So I think that's the thing that people would really like. If he had that, he would probably be one of those top rushers that we're talking about. But overall, patient, vision, bounce outside, and get upfield. Kind of gear down, get out of bounds, right? All right, so in the passing game, right, they really didn't use him much, but he's not going to be a guy that's going to be your mismatch nightmare against linebackers or safety. That's going to be more the Jadon Blue role, who we'll talk about here in upcoming film sessions. But overall, he's a guy that can swing out of the backfield, good, reliable hands, so he's not catching with his body. You'll see it right there, catching away from his body. All right, good catch. And being able to turn a run. So once again, it's like once he gets the ball in his hands, he's good enough. Right? He's good enough. Like I said, it's not going to be, wow, he's to the crib. It's not going to be any of that. But overall, good pass catcher out of the backfield. Typical run routes, swings, check downs, little wheels, just simple backfield routes is what he's going to be pretty much utilized for. We have another running back where I think that's really where the mismatch is going to come from. But overall, like I said, good quality and receiving, decent pass catcher, not much of a yak guy, but overall, he's more than enough. And then you'll see it here once again, the short yardage ability, being able to get low, keep the chains moving. So that will kind of be his role if he rotates in, right? So just thinking about this, right, just from a Cowboys perspective, me personally, right, don't shoot the messenger. I feel like Javonte Williams will probably be the lead dog, and then you'll also have Jadon Blue. Probably Miles Sanders might be on the out, and then Phil will be in the rotation. But I feel like this is a guy that if something was to happen to Sanders, or you kind of just need to have some more rotation when it comes to your backfield, he's a guy that can definitely step in and fill that void. And this is a much better option than the Royce Freemans, the hurt Ezekiel Elliott's, I would probably say, because he does have vision, patience, as I've been mentioning a lot. And when your offensive line gets this push, right, he gets the push, boom, hits the hole, plant and go. He has a little wiggle, but it's not DJ Gittins-esque, it's not Deuce, but he can make people miss, right? He can make people miss. And I just think that he really kind of just gives us that option as a rotational back. And then maybe, down the road, he can work his way up. Because I think he's only, 22 years old. So he's still fairly young. He's not one of those older 25, 26-year-old prospects. And once again, you kind of see running with that physicality, running downhill, being an avalanche, and picking up and moving the short downs and moving the chains, right? And I feel like what'll be really fun is I want to see this behind Hunter Lukey, right? Behind Hunter Lukey, and also with their offensive line, this could be fun, right? Playing some good old power football, right? I know people try to, get this out of the league and be more of a passing league, but it's back. Power football, lining up in I formations and, offset formations and running the ball down people's throats, pause if you will, is definitely back. Now, as a pass pro guy, he's a willing pass pro guy. But honestly, they didn't use him in pass pro a lot at Clemson. They literally swung him out the backfield a lot. But he's willing, but there's probably some technique cleanup. But, simply what he'll did is like check and releases. So they really didn't have him sitting back pass proing a lot. So if there's an opportunity, I think that will probably be an area of focus. But overall, good prospect, great value to be able to get in Phil Mafah in as a 7th round pick. I feel like he's going to be a guy that we watch in preseason, like, oh, we really like this. We like this, Tuck. You know what I'm saying? We like this. So, but I just think that if you wanted the elite, he's not that, but he's good enough. And I think combining him with Javonte Williams, Jadon Blue, who we'll talk about in upcoming videos, and possibly Miles Sanders, I feel like the Dallas Cowboys have drastically improved their running back room. So it's your boy J Tuck. Comment, like, subscribe. If you love film sessions, breaking down players for the Dallas Cowboys who we brought in, you are in the right spot, because y'all know I'm about to go crazy, dog. I might drop 2 or 3 of them things in a day just because I'm rested and I'm ready to really get into the nooks and crannies of these players that we drafted. So turn on that notification bell so you do not miss out. I want everyone to stay safe, stay blessed, stay encouraged. And Phil Mafah, welcome to the Dallas Cowboys. Peace.